Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I love the more obscure questions. I love the more esoteric questions. And here's a great one. This is from Ligon. Stephen Ligon. There you go. See, I can butcher other people's names too, not just creators. No, but this is a cool question. It says, "Hey Perch, I got a question for you. Would you like to live in the current Marvel Comics universe as a normal human?" No. But let's continue with the question. Given the current X-Men storylines, I'm not sure I would. Marvel Comics seems to no longer be a superhero genre, but a near dystopian sci-fi genre. While I acknowledge the fact that these genres cross over quite a bit, I have to think that the current runs of X-Men titles have taken it to a whole new level, good or bad, and I think that might be a mistake. The X-Men titles and stories and what shapes humanity's future in the Marvel Universe, the rest of the world be damned. When are the government agencies, the anti-mutant groups, the paramilitary organizations, the stories of normal humans who are influenced by the mutants seeming to take over things? Mutant paranoia should be at an all-time high in the current Marvel Comics world. The current run of X-Men titles should have been an alternate universe. What if storyline showing the good and bad of the mutants gaining control of the world the way they have? Not the mainstream Marvel Comics universe, which either have to be permanently changed to fit the new normal of mutant power, or totally rebooted and start over again. I know you've gone over a lot of this in your videos, but any ideas? All right, kind of two questions in one. So to the original one, would I want to live in the current Marvel universe? No, no. I mean, come on. Like that is a disaster waiting to happen. Like the New York gets, but the thing that cracks me about Marvel is that you would not live. No one would live in New York. That city gets absolutely destroyed every other year, and given the sliding timeline, every 2 months. Like the amazing part about the Marvel universe is that the economy is amazing because they're having to rebuild crap all the time. Like if you think about it in terms of how they've identified time passage in the Marvel universe, like World War Hulk, Civil War, Secret Invasion, Fear itself. Uh, I'm trying to think of the other things that impacted New York. I mean, all those events, New York got leveled. I think Civil War II did less leveling in humanity or in Infinity. You had kind of an inhuman spaceship crash down in the water over there, and I mean, I don't know. Dark Reign, Norman was just, I mean, destroying the place all over things. I mean, if you put like a black lamp over big parts of New York, you'd see horrible, Jackson Pollock like scenes all over. I've gone down a weird path. Anyway, no, it would be a terrible place to live, and it would be as a human, everybody would be very fatalistic. In fact, one of the comics I've got coming out in the future that I'm writing kind of deals with that. What happens? What do humans do if there's no responsibility? If there's no, I mean, like if you're pretty sure you're going to get randomly killed by, who knows? We've had King in Black, we've had Empire. Like there's no going to New York. Anyway, you never get that black goo out. But no, I wouldn't want to live as a human there. I think it's terrible. But then, kind of, you went on to expand to the X-Men side of the world. I mean, in my view, the X-Men and Krakoa and the plant gates and terraforming Mars as a Rocco and all that kind of stuff. That just makes it worse. But it's just one more step. I mean, if you lived on the Marvel Universe, you'd have to submit to the fact that you're going to have like random Norse gods with crazy hammers just blowing the hell out of everything every now and then, and you're going to have black goo splattered all over everything and have to clean that up. I mean, it just, you would not want to be there. I mean, the X-Men and their plant gates are just one more step into insanity. Once upon a time, I think pre-Secret Wars, and Secret War actually didn't do that much damage to it, but pre some of these bigger events, New York would only, I mean, like once in a while, Galactus would show up and just kind of stomp around Central Park and part of downtown, and it would be bad. There'd be mass murder like crazy, but still, it wasn't terrible. That was when it was more the Marvel Universe outside your window. But ever since then, it's like, I mean, Ryan Stegman's a hell of an artist, but he just draws New York just getting absolutely shit mixed in King in Black. And that's just the latest of the various events. Where the X-Men are concerned, the problem is this. I think that you're absolutely right. And many people say, well, the easy out is just that Moira dies and it's one of her lives, and all the rest. The challenge is all these other titles have crossed over with it. The Avengers and the Fantastic Four and all these other books have made it clear that this is the Marvel universe. This is the real 616 Marvel universe, and that's a decision that I think is going to start to haunt Marvel to some extent, because the X-Men lineup, that whole lineup of books, is not selling terribly well. I mean, even if you take Comicron's estimates, where I mean, it's from a just insignificant sample size of comic shops who use that software. But even if you use that, like, Static #1 outsold all the X-Men comics for Hellfire Gala month except Hickman's final issue and that planet-sized X-Men issue. Like, when Static is outselling all of your X books, then maybe having the X-Men status quo take over the entire Marvel universe starts to look like a bad idea. And I think it is destructive. I mean, the challenge is with all this, you keep taking steps further and further and further. The X-Men does read like a big what if story. They're fully down the path of it's going to be hard to retcon out of it. If they do a Moira pulls her life and everything else, they're going to have to then jerk around all the other comic books that have crossed over to it. It's just going to create this weird, awkward kind of sequence of events. Doesn't mean it's not possible, and that's exactly what they will do. They'll just trigger that kind of reboot and off we go. But the challenge is, I mean, you can't have, like, the mutants can't be killed. They're setting up tree houses and everything in New York. I mean, it's just at some point, and the latest issue, the Uncanny X-Men #1, the first kind of the relaunch that they just did, the X-Men buy some Central Park property and, like, build a giant treehouse base there, which is not just impractical, but they say in the comic, the residents of New York woke up to discover their view of Central Park was completely screwed. It's like, I mean, yeah, at some point, the X-Men, there's just no way to look at them as heroes. And the funny part is, they are trying to build up the villains, and the villains being characters in the X-Men who have anti-mutant, hysteria. But the problem is they are doing a really good job identifying why somebody would be anti-mutant. It's if it was once an analogy for race or sexuality bigotry, it becomes much less that when people are just randomly taking over planets and things like that's. It's a bizarre form of wish fulfillment, but there's no government on the planet. Even if the X-Men are giving you happy drugs, there's no government be like, yeah, we're cool with this. Everybody would be pissed. There would be, and if the as they're kind of teasing about in X-Men, they're teasing that Ben Urich is aware that and he's investigating the death of Jumbo Carnation, which is a little odd. I mean, I think that the secret that the X-Men have been murdered and can come back from the dead is should be out there at this point. We've got a whole, like, what, Zemo or Zero, whatever, that this evil organization that's, like, harvesting body parts and other things. I mean, the word would get out that you could just kill these people over and over again, and that would cause just, again, crazy hysteria around the planet. Nobody would be into this. And as if you lived in this universe as a real person, you'd be pissed. I mean, again, unless you're a mutant, you're hanging out on the cool, happy, sex island. Nobody would be happy with any of this. So, number one, no, I don't. I would not want to live as a real human in the Marvel universe. It'd be awful. I mean, yeah, you'd have no stability. It'd be a very fatalistic life. You would, what you'd go who's going to be the person who's going to be like, well, I need to go to the work and I'm an administrative assistant for a pharmaceutical company that, does trial drugs for I mean, in the new X-Men issue, as well as kind of talking about spoiling the Central Park view, they talk about how this guy had worked his entire life to try and terraform Mars or get up to Mars and do some things in there. And I mean, it's nice that they're forgetting about Hickman's previous storyline. Where, what is it, Ex Nihilo and those guys terraform Mars? I mean, that's just been memory hold, but okay, fine. They talk about this guy who worked his entire life, or a big part of his life, to get to Mars, and then suddenly, in a blink, the mutants get up there and they terraform it, and his entire life's ambition and everything is ruined. And they're trying to say, and then he turned evil. But I mean, yeah, he'd probably be pretty pissed. I'm just saying. I mean, they're going to frame this guy up as some crazy, pushed over the edge, evil villain. But I mean, I'm just saying, it's you'd see a lot of that. So it'd be terrible. And then, kind of the second part of the question, in terms of the X-Men universe, I mean, yeah, I think they've written themselves into a terrible corner, and now the game becomes, can we just keep writing ourselves in this corner, and the comics will sell, and we'll just keep doing this until the comics thoroughly don't sell, and then we'll figure something else out. I mean, it's very hard to read the comics seriously and not view the X-Men as evil at this point. They are. It is a cult. I mean, it is. The way they're written, the way they're drawn. I mean, they act like dicks when they wander around and tell people you're in our club, you're not in our club. I mean, just it's it's not a place. This isn't a team that works long term. Eventually, people start to look at the X-Men as stuck up and snobbish and just kind of a-holes, which is where we're heading. And maybe that's all part of the plan. Granted, maybe in the X-Writer room, they're like, we need to make these characters as obnoxious and annoying and stepping over, other people to get what they want. And I mean, we just got to make it as annoying as possible so that when they fall, when everything goes terribly wrong, it's something for the customers to cheer for. But why would you want your customers cheering for your comic book characters to be put in their place? It's a very weird thing to try and get the mainstream to cheer for. But I don't know. So no. I like that question though. Maybe some other people. Would you want to live in the Marvel universe, unpowered as a normal human? Would you want to live there? Once upon a time, I remember that Marvel asked this question in like the '80s, and a lot of people were like, "Yeah." And there were even comics made around the wonder of living in this universe, even as a human, but seeing gods in the sky and aliens and heroes and just the wonder of this world. And I think there was an aspect to that, this wide-eyed wonder of this amazing universe. Today, I think that wonder is over. I mean, you can only have your city covered in black goo, 2 or 3 times before you're just over that. Like, people would be moving out of New York in droves, more than they are now. Anyway, hey, what do you think? Would you live in the Marvel Universe as a normal human? You tell me. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.